Welcome to Softball 605 on the Diamonds. This is our second week of reporting to you softball that is occurring in the Sioux Falls area. My name is Sandy Delker-Holbert.
And I'm Travis Lape.
Our goal is to get to you softball information, tournaments, games, slow pitch, fast pitch, information as it occurs. We're only as good as the information that we get. So we're making a plea to everybody that is watching and dialed into Softball 605 to please get us your information regarding tournaments, league games. We can kind of get some of that information off of the website. But we don't know where your teams or your kids are playing unless if we have the information. So we'd like to be as full service as possible. So if you could get that information to us, that would be great.
Absolutely. And it's freezing cold out. But how was the weekend tournaments that you were at?
You know what? We had some good weather. We had gone to Oskaloosa, Iowa.
Oh, nice.
Yep, and it was ended up being a beautiful weekend outside of the threat of rain.
Right.
We had one downpour, but it did not affect the play of the tournament, so we ended up getting that finished up. But yeah, it was not cold like it is here in Sioux Falls.
This is crazy. It's May. We're trying to get league started, and we have to cancel games because the weather is just so cold.
So cold. I think it got to maybe 48 maybe yesterday, and the winds were gusting at about 20 to 30 miles an hour.
Not something we want to be out in.
Nope. I would say that if the 4- and 5-year-olds were out on the fields, that would have been their first and last time, because that would not have been fun.
No, snow pants and all, that would not have been a game for them.
So anyway, hopefully starting tonight, SEPSA teams will be out on the Diamonds tonight and get the league kicked off to a much better start. So
yes.
We'll have more to report on that in the coming weeks.
Absolutely.
But for right now, I've just got a few tournaments that I was aware of, and some of the teams from Sioux Falls and the finishes that they had. So I will start with the 6th annual Sioux Falls Spring Fast Pitch Tournament at Dunham that was held this weekend. And as we discussed in our last edition, that is a tournament that a fast pitch men's team holds for a fundraiser, and that tournament did go on. I know that my Diamonds Eclipse team played in that tournament, but they do not have any results online, so I don't know what the outcome of that one was. But that one did occur. There was the Aloha tournament in Lincoln, Nebraska, and that was a USSSA tournament. And they have a lot of tournaments in Lincoln, and they do have really fun themes for some of those tournaments. So this one ended up being Hawaiian. The girls go out in Hawaiian garb and play the tournament the first day in a costume. So that's kind of fun. And it looks like Sioux Falls Steel in the 14U division won that. I'm not sure if there was any other Sioux Falls teams in there, but if you give us the information, we'll be happy to report it.
You know that, and last week we kind of talked about ASA and USSSA and kind of the differences,
Yep.
and that's a big difference. Is the USSSA really caters to the families and makes it an event. It's
Sure.
You know, they're putting on kind of a event for not only the athletes competing, but the families that participate as well. And so, like you said, there the costumes, the decorating of
The dugouts. Yep.
You know, they really kind of try to make it a whole family event where the ASA tournaments that you go to, it's really about business. It's about winning, playing the games,
Yep.
and really moving on in the bracket play. And so, really two different kind of feels of tournaments when you go to them.
Sure.
Both very, very highly competitive teams play in both.
Right.
But it's interesting the dynamic of what each division does.
Right. Yep, and you can clearly see that they even at the USSSA this weekend, we mentioned they did the dugout contest, and they do a vote at the end of the first day, and they give a trophy for the dugout that had the best decorations, and that usually goes to the team moms, I think. So,
Right.
or should go to the team moms.
Yeah. So it's kind of a pride thing. It gets the moms involved, and
Right.
everybody's a part of it. So.
Right. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Let's see, then there was the PGF Heartland Elite Cup Challenge, and that took place in Oskaloosa, Iowa this weekend. And that was the first time I've ever been to that tournament, and there was a high caliber of ball, and there were a number of college coaches walking around out there. I know the SDSU coach was down there, or over there, and there was teams from Iowa, Kansas City, Nebraska, There were 4 teams from Sioux Falls that made the 5.5-hour trip to play in that tournament. And
Wow.
the caliber of ball was really good. So the 12U Diamonds Blast participated in that. Diamonds Elite, the 14U division, they actually lost in the semifinal game against Team Premier Iowa. But that was ended up being a good finish for them. And then 16U Extreme Diamonds team participated in that as well. There was also a tournament called the Legacy Fast Pitch Softball Tournament in Minnetonka,
Okay.
in Minnesota, and that was just a 10 and 12U division tournament. SWAT Energy went to that one, and they made the semifinals in the silver bracket. And Diamonds Impact participated, but I couldn't find the bracket for that finish, so I don't know where they ended up. But lots of travel ball going on right now.
Right, absolutely. And again, we kind of covered it there, where there are ASA tournaments, USSSA tournaments, PGF. Sandy, you've kind of been out on the road there a little bit. What have you seen kind of now being in the PGF tournament compared to maybe some of the U trips that you've played in or ASA so far? What is the biggest like standout that you notice?
You know what? The only standout that I really noticed is they allow a little more a little less flexibility with the batting lineup for PGF.
Yep.
You can have an EH/DH flex, but you can't bat 11 with the PGF like you can with USSSA. You can actually bat 11 girls and get more girls involved,
Right.
even in pool play. But with PGF, it's 10 and that's it.
Right. Okay.
Otherwise, USSSA, that they do cater to more of the family. I think with some of the events that they have with the dress up and whatnot, but it just seems a little more relaxed, I think, at the USSSA tournaments than at the PGF, because that's it's creeping up from the south, but it seems to be very similar to ASA. It's a little more serious level of ball.
Yep, absolutely. And
Yeah.
there's a little history behind that. And a lot of the history behind that is ASA started as that governing body. I
Right.
mean, really, softball, ASA has been kind of that premier fast pitch body. And you play by their rules, you play by their politics, and you do it. And some coaches have started to get away from that, and I think that's where we've seen a lot of U-Trip coming in now,
Right.
where in Nebraska you see a lot of USSSA tournaments. PGF was really started by a travel program
I didn't know that.
called the Bat Busters.
Okay.
And they really wanted ASA to bring a tournament to California. And
Mm-hmm.
they wanted the gold tournament. They wanted the top-notch, best teams in the country to come to California and compete.
Mm-hmm.
And ASA kind of lifted their nose and said, no, we can't do that. That's got to stay in Oklahoma City. It's got to be played on ASA Hall of Fame Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
Batbusters decided, you know what, we can do our own thing then. And they started the PGF, which is now just exploded. And
Right.
like you said, it's coming up from the south here.
Yep.
So it's the same model. They play by the same exact rules as ASA. They've just formed their whole entire different league because of that.
Sure.
And I mean, and there's so much of that, and all the organizations have their their positives and their negatives that you play by, and really it's the rules and the politics of it. But it's hard when a lot of our good ASA teams are now playing PGF because of
Right.
that power struggle a little
Right,
bit.
right. And I know that up till this year, ASA was not nearly as friendly as far as rostering players. If you had a player that would play in the 14U division on a 14U team, but they were actually 12 years old,
Right.
That 12U player could not play down in the 12U division, even if they got picked up for a tournament. Well, they have come around, and I think
Absolutely.
that PGF making its way up to this area, and same with USSSA, and there being a little more leniency on everybody should play, in their chronological age bracket,
Right.
but they shouldn't punish the girls that maybe have a little more talent that could play in their age bracket but play up because they choose to. They should be penalized for that, and I think
Right. Absolutely.
they're trying to maybe balance that out this year with that change in rule. But
Yeah. And that's hard for tournament directors. I know I got a phone call the first week out about that rule because a tournament director, by the old rule, like you said, if you're 12 years old and you're playing 14U, you can't ever come back down to 12U.
Right.
And that tournament director had a situation where that was happening, and they panicked and was like, I don't know. And they called, and I was like, nope, that's the new rule. And I agree with you. I think it's going to help keep ASA teams because of that flexibility. Like my daughter can play up to 14U, But if a 12U team has a spot on a weekend that we're not playing and we can be a pickup player,
We'd love to go.
I can go.
Yeah, yep.
So, so that's been exciting to see that part of it.
That
as well.
change, yep.
Yeah.
Yep, because you like to see rules that are in favor of the athletes and not so much just rules to have rules.
Absolutely.
So
right.
it's nice to see it based on the athletes. So.
Yep. Well, and then we're heading into league season now, and teams start to play league. And being out on the diamonds, what do you notice are the biggest things for the league that coaches do, or strategies that coaches do for league structure?
Boy, I think for league structure, a lot of the competitive teams, I'm not real familiar with the rec division, but I know for the competitive or the travel league, they use this as a time to really develop their girls and try them in different positions, try them in positions where they might not necessarily put them if they were in a tournament and a higher tension situation, but it's really a live practice for a lot of these teams.
Yeah.
I know that's kind of how a lot of the competitive teams see it. It's just it's a live practice. You have umpires and you get into game situations, and then you're able to go, oh my, so-and-so missed the throw to second, and you can just pick those components out of it, make a list, and then you know where to focus the next practice.
Right.
Competitive B, I think there's just a little more shuffling of players in the different positions. It's still competitive, but it's not as, it's maybe not as focused on travel ball and playing that one position. It's more of even more so of a development league for those that don't quite want to commit to the travel, but they don't want to play down in a rec division, which clearly is just supposed to be for fun.
Right, absolutely.
So,
and I think sometimes we forget that.
We do.
When we're out there, we kind of forget that league, the purpose of league is really what you said. It is to prepare yourself for the weekend thing, for the weekend tournaments, or for what you're working for. And sometimes we forget that, and we get caught up where, a lot of our younger umpires take a beating verbally from coaches and parents because we kind of forget that. And so I think that's a big message from the board and from the league heading into that season is, really work with the umpires. They're learning along with your girls out on the diamond, and so work with them, coach them, make sure they communicate with the UICs at the park of umpires that are doing really good things and umpires that maybe need a little extra help.
Sure, and like you said, it is developmental for the umpires too. So what kinds of things does SEFSA do as far as placing umpires? I mean, obviously, I would assume that there's some sort of pecking order that you want your more senior umpires at. How do you guys do that?
Yeah, so SEFSA, we really strive to structure our 16 and 18s getting our top umpires because a lot of our older umpires are looking to do nationals, and so they need to be umping some of the bigger games where they can get into more situations that are a little more real for them that they would see in a tournament when they're trying to move up that way. And so our older umpires, we'll see a lot at Kenny Anderson, and then hopefully there'll be enough of those older umpires that they'll move down into the 14s. Our 10s and 12s will really see a lot of the first to 3 year umpires. So they're very raw, never probably been behind the plate, and
they're nervous, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely.
They're nervous, and
they've never wore the gear, and the ball's coming at them, and if they're not in the right position, they can't see that corner, or they can't see the plate, and so some of it's just technique and teaching the young umpires good technique and where to be and how to put themselves in a good position. But the other part of it is, for those younger umpires, the more they get yelled at, the less they ever want to do.
I wouldn't want to do it either.
And they just start to kind of fall off, and we've seen that. I mean, this year, last night, I had our UICs call me and say, hey, I don't know if I'm going to get 2 umpires per field tonight because we've got some conflicts with kids not back from college yet, and kind of that balance, and I get that, but some of that is our own doings as coaches and as parents that we've kind of scared those kids away.
Sure.
And in a time where our state needs younger umpires, this isn't the time to do that. And so I really hope this season can be bright for us, where our parents and our coaches really can understand that idea that league is really a time where they can work and they can practice, but also help our umpires. Don't come flaring out of the dugout screaming that they missed a call or that rule isn't true, or address them like human beings and have a conversation with them. And sometimes I think we play that intimidation card too much.
in the end, if you're going to yell and scream at the umpire, you're going to throw a fit over a call, it's a judgment call in most situations, and so you can't really take it back unless if you have a second set of eyes from the other umpire that actually saw that event happen. It's not going to change anything. So really, in the scheme of things, a game typically in a league situation never comes down to one call.
Right.
So it could have been 10 plays before that, or all 10 plays before that call was made. So I think it's important that coaches and parents keep that in perspective.
Yeah, some of the best things that have happened to me when I was coaching travel ball, but also coaching college, is you go out to, you feel like you've got it, you know that rule, and you're going out to rip that umpire apart, and the first thing that comes out of that umpire's mouth is, "You're right, coach." Because as soon as that happens, what else do I have to say to them?
Right?
Besides, like, okay, you know,
but you can't change it.
You can't change the call.
No, you can't.
The call has happened, so so that happens.
It does.
So
it does, and they're human. We're all human, and these little umpires, the 12 and 13 years old, it took a lot for them just to even to sign up to be an umpire. So we hope that they get treated fairly and well.
Right. Yeah.
So.
Well, Softball 605, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have some news about the NCAA Division I, Division II, and the NAIA softball championships that are right around the corner.
You've worked hard all year. I need you to bring it, dig down deep today, because today, everybody plays.
Everybody plays.
Everybody plays.
Everybody plays.
Play. When we first learned to work together, it was through play. We learned social skills, give and take, freedom and teamwork through play. There's no age limit on play, no skill level required. Play It Again Sports knows play. We buy and sell new and quality used sports and fitness equipment for less, so everybody can play.
Bet I play. Now it's time to play.
Play It Again Sports.
Play It Again Sports.
Play It Again Sports.
The official sponsor of
all those that play.
And we're back, Softball 605. Thanks for joining us that first segment. The second segment's all about NCAA Division I, II, NAIA softball that's happening kind of around the country right now with the softball championships.
Yep, and I did not know that the NAIA was down in Sioux City.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Not too far.
Yep,
so.
I've got, there's a couple teams that are traveling down there just to watch games. I think it's tomorrow night or Friday night?
Friday night.
Friday night, so.
That's awesome.
That is exciting, I had no idea.
Absolutely.
So.
Well, Division I kind of started off with a huge bang. NDSU went out to Oregon to compete against in the Oregon division bracket, and the first game, NDSU run ruled, or I think they run ruled. I gotta look at the stats right there, but they beat Fresno State, and so that moved them into the winners bracket on the Oregon side, and so they had to compete against Oregon, and they ended up losing 3-2 to them. Really a back and forth game all day. Pitching for NDSU was spot on, and NDSU just came up short that game, so that dropped them to the losers bracket. They had to play BYU, beat them, so they got another shot at Oregon, but Oregon's bats came alive, and I think 3 or 4 home runs went over the fence on them, and Oregon beat NDSU 6-1. But another great season for NDSU, another season that builds on really what they've done up there, and what Coach Mueller has done. So Oregon moves on, real easy in there. I mean, they won 3 games, didn't lose 1. So I mean, they moved on pretty simple there.
Right. Well, it's hard to combat home runs.
Right. Absolutely.
I mean, if you're going to lose a game, that's the way you want to lose it.
Yep. So. Right. You know, North Carolina State, they kind of were the sleeper in that. James Madison was the host, and James Madison came in the 15th seed in the tournament and was upset by North Carolina State. And North Carolina State really didn't have any problem in that region. They won all 3 games and moved on. So they'll be heading out to Eugene, Oregon to play Oregon this weekend. Missouri, not too far from here, ended up going 3-0 on the weekend and moved them into super regionals, which
Wow.
I know that kind of holds your assistant coach from coming back to help with your Diamonds Elite team.
Yep, that's okay. That's a good problem to have. Yeah, we didn't count on him until June. We were thinking positively and happy thoughts for him. So yeah, that's good to see that Mizzou is having such good luck.
You know, now they'll head out to the powerhouse UCLA and really have their hands, you know, tied out there. UCLA came into theirs and went through their regional pretty well, 3-0. Not much struggle, so we'll have the 7 seed versus the 10 seed out there.
Okay.
Mizzou is really going to have their bats come out to really put UCLA in some tough positions. But the way Missouri played against Kansas and Indiana State in their regional, their bats were there. So if those travel, that should be a good regional to watch. Alabama continues to shock people. They come in as the 6th seed of the tournament, walk through the regional just fine, but they haven't had the powerhouse that they've had in the past. Their bats really, they've been able to put runs on the board, but it's not over the fence power. But this regional, something changed, and they were hitting home runs in every game. And so Coach Murphy down there's got something rolling there for them as they will now take on Oklahoma. And anytime Oklahoma and Alabama meet, it's going to be a good game. So we'll have the 11th seed versus the 6th seed in that regional, but they'll be heading down to Alabama to play.
When is that game?
And the first game is Friday night at 7 o'clock, and that will be on ESPN.
Awesome.
And so it'll be a major network game. First game's Friday night, and then Saturday night they'll play at 5 o'clock on ESPN, and then the IF game is 8 o'clock on ESPN.
That'll be a good one.
So that's definitely a regional to watch. The next regional that's going to be a good one here is the Georgia-Michigan one. Western Kentucky, if you've been around the Summit League enough, you know Western Kentucky used to play in the Summit League for all their sports, but they moved out of that conference, and this year they made the tournament, but went down to Georgia. They upset Georgia in extra innings, and so sent Georgia to the losers bracket where Georgia had to fight back, and then Georgia ended up on the final day beating Western Kentucky twice to win the regional. So Georgia's got
to work for it.
A little battle tested. I think they maybe got a little ahead of themselves looking over Western Kentucky. And Kentucky came through. Absolutely. Michigan, Coach Hutch up there, so happy for her. She's the 3 seed this year. She's just a Hall of Fame coach that's really making a difference in Michigan, and it's good to see their team finally at the top. Georgia will travel up to Michigan and be in Ann Arbor to compete in that regional, and winner will go on to Oklahoma City. So in my heart, I'm cheering for Michigan. But you know, Georgia's definitely tough. They've got some speed and they've got some power. So
I have a soft spot for the northern teams, just because it's harder for them to practice and get in the same type of practices that those southern teams get because you know it's warmer weather. So I have a soft spot for the northern team. So go Michigan.
Yeah, absolutely. Florida, the number 1 seed overall, they went through their regional no problem, 3-0. Kentucky unranked, but they hosted and they went in 3-0 as well. So that was good for them. That was the only regional. Well, I guess they didn't host. They went actually to Notre Dame and defeated the 16th seed in that conference. So, but good for them. They had a kind of an upset there to come in unranked. They're the only unranked team in the top 16 right now that made it through. Florida State went through fine. Tennessee went through fine. So Florida State and Tennessee will play. The crazy brackets now come down to the LSU and Arizona regionals. LSU got knocked off early by Arizona State and had to defeat Nebraska, beat Nebraska, and then had to come back through and beat Arizona State twice. And they did it. They beat Nebraska 3-2, and then turned around and beat Arizona State 5-0, and then 4-3 to go on. But that was a crazy regional because LSU wasn't really expected to go down, and they. In the first game against Arizona State, their bats just weren't there, and Arizona State was just on their pitcher. But as it kind of built, LSU came back through. So that game, that was an if championship, and LSU came through there. And then the next one was Arizona, and that included our friends from Minnesota, and that was an awesome regional as well. And that came down to an if game. Minnesota came back through and won the first game of the day and had to play Arizona the second game, and it came down to the bottom of the 8th inning and losing 7-6. But what's crazy about that game was in the top of the 7th inning. Yes, in the top of the 7th inning, because Arizona was in the bottom. Top of the 7th, Minnesota is down 6-3, 6-2. Bases loaded, grand slam, ties it up 6-6. So we go to bottom of the 7th. Minnesota holds them. We go then top of the 8th. Minnesota doesn't score. Bottom. Arizona scratches the one across. But that's
an exciting.
The fight of that Minnesota team. The announcers kept talking about just the fight that they had throughout that whole regional. Every time they were down, you couldn't really count them out because their bats just would come to life. And so just another.
That's a fun game to watch.
A fun game and another good northern school competing in a tough regional. So Arizona now will head to LSU and go down to Louisiana, and then in our final regional matchup, Auburn and Louisiana Lafayette, and so that will be in Auburn will host that regional, and that regional is at 2 o'clock on Friday on ESPNU, and that will be a good regional. Little fun fact there, too bad Arizona State didn't win because Arizona State's coach is now at Auburn, and Arizona State is his old school, and so it would have been fun to see both of them do well and maybe see each other in the Oklahoma City matchup, but that didn't happen. Arizona State got knocked out, and so Auburn is still alive, and so that's our top 8. And those all start this Friday, which is exciting. So if you're looking for games, definitely check it out. Friday night is going to be a busy night for NCAA Division I softball. All gearing up this weekend for the championship rounds coming up soon in Oklahoma City. Division II, really the field is now set. Central Missouri came up last weekend to Augustana, and just really timely hitting was kind of the key word there. Central Missouri, great pitcher, had a really awesome 2 games. The first game, Augie just didn't have much for him. 6-1. Central Missouri really just came through. The second game, though, Augie really battled with them. It really came down to kind of the last couple innings, and it just Augie left the last out happened with bases loaded.
Oh goodness!
And really, Augie needed that to come through, and that didn't.
Right.
Timely hitting, that does. We probably have an if game, and it looks differently. So, but Central Missouri will open play up May 21st, 8:30. There'll be the nightcap game against Adelphia on Hall of Fame Stadium. So Central Missouri is our representation from the Central region that will be down there in Oklahoma City. Some of the other ones that are playing down there, North Georgia, Indianapolis, St. Mary's out of Texas, which fun fact about St. Mary's, some Hall of Fame and USA softball players are now coaching at St. Mary's.
Oh, wow.
And so
it's fun to see that come back.
It is, yeah. Some of those athletes continue to go back. Shorter, California, Pennsylvania, Dixie State, all made the Division II championship. So a lot of information there. The only time we'll get to see the Division II on TV is in the championship round.
Okay.
And so we won't really see those games. If you are looking to watch these games, you can definitely tune into the NCAA.org and click on Division II softball, and they'll web stream them all. But nothing will be on network TV until later.
Okay, good to know.
And then the NAI, like you said, starts this Friday down in Sioux City. So if you're looking for good softball, good games in the area, definitely check out Sioux City. Head down there. Our team from the north, North Dakota Dickinson State, is the 10 seed, and so they'll be playing at 10 a.m. on Friday against Oregon Tech. William Carey and Concordia, Oregon, will be the 1 o'clock game that day. And so they're really our closest one. So go Dickinson State, represent the Dakotas, and hopefully we can give you an update next week on how they ended up in the NAIA softball championship tournament as well. And that kind of wraps up the talk on softball for college, but a lot of softball going on right now. League is starting, but even with that, you know, if you're at home and you're looking just to kind of learn, you can learn so much by just watching in for 2-3 innings of strategy and what coaches are doing and what teams do. You know, when you get a runner on first base, do you bund them over all the time? What is that strategy and how are they working it? So if you're looking for games to catch, definitely tune into the core networks, and otherwise you can get results all on the ncaa.org website. This is Softball 605. We'll be back in a second.
Bargain Bites has a huge supply of refurbished electronics. They're a Microsoft authorized refurbisher. Just look at this. Computers as low as $100 and a wide variety of electronics, all so affordable. Look at these deals. A Dell 4-core laptop, fully tested, only $200. A MacBook, fully tested and ready to go, only $200. Subscribe to the Bargain Bites YouTube channel and get all sorts of great tips from super technician Brendan. Bargain Bites, just east of the airport off Benson Road. Visit them today online at bargainbites.net.
Softball 605. We've got a couple tournaments to give you information about that are coming up that we're excited about because they're happening right here in our backyard. The first one will be the Memorial Softball Tournament that is hosted by the Sioux Empire Fast Pitch Softball Association. It's really a tournament for our competitive B and recreational teams, really looking to just get them out on the diamond and getting some quality time in a tournament atmosphere.
Right.
A fun thing that we do with that tournament is after each pool play game, the teams get together with their own team, decide a player from the other team that they thought really stood out to them, and they award them an MVP medal.
That's cool.
And so the girls do that. They basically, each team will get 3 pool play games, and so 3 girls from each team will be selected as an MVP. But just something fun that the girls get to nominate, and the coaches kind of can help so that no girl gets nominated twice. But it is just another little added thing to our tournament that we've really found beneficial.
And when is that tournament,
And
Travis?
that is coming up June 6th and 7th at Sherman Park. We've got 30 teams already registered.
Is it full?
It is not full. We still have
Okay.
room.
Okay.
We're excited. I mean, 30 teams is
That's a lot.
is more than what
Yep.
we've had really at this time in the past years. So we expect to get it hopefully into that 40-45 range.
Sure. So where is the farthest team traveling from to come to that tournament?
We have a team from Pierre, Watertown, and just got word from Vermilion that they'll be sending a team as well. So
Awesome.
Pierre and Watertown will be our 2 big teams coming in, and then there's also an Iowa team that's still looking at getting in. They just haven't decided between ours and Brandon.
Gotcha. Okay, that's awesome because it's on a conflicting weekend where there are other tournaments and local
Absolutely.
tournaments going. So that's an awesome turnout.
Right, absolutely. And then we head into the ASA qualifier, the Heartland Showcase. This is a big tournament for us because, as you said, Sandy, you guys went down in the PGF. They had the college coaches there.
Yep.
We'll have kind of that same atmosphere coming up here the weekend of the 19th, 20th, and 21st, right at Sherman Park. We've got right now 38 teams in the qualifier, and really the winner will get a bid to the national tournament, and so it's a big tournament for those teams that are coming in. And we've got teams from Minnesota, South Dakota, Wisconsin, and I want to say we've got a Kansas team coming up now that will be joining us. So
And that's all competitive A
all
travel.
competitive A travel teams.
Okay.
Yep. And so all those teams are fighting for a spot in the national tournament in their respective age levels. We've got 10 all the way through 18-year-old divisions, and we're still accepting registrations for that, and teams can still get in. But it's a double elimination tournament, so we run it just like nationals. You'll play pool play games that will seed you for the double elim, and the double elim will start late Saturday, and run through Sunday.
Sunday, okay.
So that's a big tournament for us because a lot of our area college coaches will be in, watching, taking note of kids and a good exposure to
Yep.
our youth.
And that's a great opportunity. It's one of those tournaments where you don't have to travel 2 hours, 3 hours to be seen. So I think that's a great opportunity for our local athletes.
Absolutely. And then we kind of wrap up our final big tournament in our state is our ring neck over the 4th of July. And that tournament brings teams from Canada, South Dakota, Minnesota, North Dakota, Wisconsin, Iowa, Nebraska. It really brings a lot of teams into our state, into our region here right in Sioux Falls. But those games all start out at Sherman Park on Friday night with opening ceremonies. And then the teams will disperse between Harmadan Park for the younger divisions and Sherman Park for the older divisions. And each division, 14, 16, and 18s have 32 teams in them.
Wow.
And it's a packed tournament. If you don't get your registration in by January 2nd, you typically are on the outside looking in.
So how many teams do you have on the waiting list right now?
You know, the 14s, the 16s, they probably have a list of 10 to 12 teams still wanting to get in on those divisions.
Wow,
So
that's amazing.
It's a tournament that we could add more teams very easily if we had more fields and a little more ability to run under the lights. With Sherman and Harmadan being our only two complexes with
It
lights,
limits things,
it
sure.
kind of limits it. But yeah, absolutely, we do have teams wanting to get in still, and it's too bad we got to turn them away every year. We have that issue.
Right. How long has that been running? Ring Neck's been around, it seems like forever.
It has. You know, I believe, I want to say like in our first show we may have talked about Rich Courtier.
Right.
He was a part of Ring Neck when it was really in its infant stages. So he might be somebody that we should reach out to at some point and bring on the show and maybe talk about the Ring Neck when we get
Right.
closer, because I think he was really kind of the ground level, and that's when Ring Neck still allowed boys to get into the tournament.
Fast pitch side of it, sure,
Yeah.
for the boys.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
That's a great idea.
it's a great tournament. It's a lot of fun, and it's right here in our backyard that brings in so many competitive softball teams to the area.
Yep, I've played in it. It's been around for a long time.
So, and those are kind of the three big tournaments that we will see coming into Sioux Falls here in the next month. June and early July, and then we wrap everything up with the state tournament, which this year all of the divisions are in Sioux Falls, and so that's going to be a lot of fun for Softball 605 because we'll be able to cover all of our softball teams from the state. I mean,
Right.
from West River to East River, we'll be able to cover them, and they'll all be at one park, and
Right.
make our life a little easier of covering it and getting information out about our teams.
Right, because we used to split it east and west, and so this year's one of the first years they're going to bring it back. So
Bring it back full, which
Yeah.
I'm glad because
Same here.
it's a lot of fun when all the teams are at the same area,
Right.
same venue.
Right.
So,
Nope, I think that's a great opportunity this year for those girls too.
and even though it's tournament time, it's league starting time, there are still quality camps and still quality things going out. And so, I mean, our kids can still be active in camps and clinics that are happening. And so Softball 605 wants to make sure we get that information out to them.
Right.
I think you've got some updates on some camps or things that are happening here
I do.
very soon.
I do. And like you said, we would like to offer information to any camps that are available in the area just because the more opportunity that our kids have, the better chance they have of reaching their goals. I'm aware of a camp that's coming up at the Diamonds building, which we are in once again here this week. We call our camp and our clinics Diamonds University. And so if you go to sfdiamonds.com, there is a tab on our website that is Diamonds University, and it lists all of the camps, the dates and the times. And you can certainly sign up online or email me off of our website. But the first camp that is coming up is Monday, June 1st, and that one is pitching and catching. The second one is June 15th, and that'll be mental aspect of softball and infield. Monday, June 22nd, will be teamwork and outfield. Tuesday, June 23rd, we kind of switch it up. We put it on a Tuesday. June 23rd will be vision and hitting. And all of these clinics will run from 8:30 in the morning until 11:30. And once again, they'll be here at the facility. And Ed Keefe, who is one of the co-owners of the club, and he is also a head coach at Dakota Wesleyan University for the softball program there. He will be running those clinics with some of the help from some of his girls on the squad. So we're looking forward to offering that to any girl in the community who is interested in working on some of their softball skills. And the cost for any one of those sessions is $30, and you can pick any 3 of those for $75 and get just a little bit of a discount. But anyway, those are again 8:30 to 11:30, June 1st, 15th, 22nd, and 23rd. We'd like the registration deadline to be by May 29th, but we understand that sometimes you don't get the information in time, so just go to the website.
Awesome. And where would be a good place for people to send information if they wanted to get stuff to Softball 605 on camps and clinics that maybe other clubs are hosting or other universities that they would like to get, broadcasted for our weekly show, but also then put on the website for other people to see?
Yep, they just need to send an email to Carol at softball605.com. So again, that is Carol at softball605.com. And also along the lines with the camps and the clinics and other happenings along instructional purposes. We would also like you to email Carol and let her know that how your team is doing, maybe what tournaments you're going to, or how you finished, or if there's maybe something exciting that happens with one of your players, or if they sign with a college. We are just open to any softball information, so get that to Carol as well, because we would love to share and celebrate all of that information with everybody as well.
There's so many great things happening in our state, and Softball 605 is just a small group of people that are starting to build a fire, and that fire really starts with you guys, because you are Softball 605. You bring us the news, and we're able to then talk about what you're doing, what your athletes are doing, and what your teams are having success at. And so it's really critical to get that information to Carol, so that we can bring that information to the masses with Softball 605 on Twitter, on Facebook. Also get on the website at softball605.com.
Correct.
And really be a part of something great that's starting, because we're only in week 2, Sandy.
Correct. It's the ground level.
But it's really something special, and I don't think anybody's going to want to miss out on. We'd love to give shout outs to teams and players that, home runs. You got a home run.
Send pictures.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, news feeds. Send whatever information you can get your hands on, because we'd love to know about all of it.
Right. And Carol's that great resource. She's going to bring it all together for us, and then we'll be able to produce that show and hopefully bring you that information as soon as we can. But for this week, thanks for watching. I'm Travis Lape.
I'm Sandy Delker, and you are
Softball 605.